Obviously so emotional, and our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball is here. And I mean, 3 decades later, these crimes still provoke such strong reactions, don't they?
Yeah, they do, Sarah, and I think it's because they were so shocking for so many reasons. The fact that Linda and Dawn were murdered in cold blood. You'll remember how sadistic this was. They were strangled, they were sexually abused. As you've said, they were only 15 years old. And you'll remember the fear when Pitchfork struck again 3 years after Linda's killing. I think, though, it's also about his notoriety, that global DNA breakthrough. Now, that kept Colin Pitchfork in the headlines. That meant this parole board decision was also always going to be really, really contentious. And it's a decision which the local MP has today described as immoral and disgusting.
I can't think of any more egregious crimes than raping and brutally murdering innocent teenage girls. I think it's right as a society that we ask, if you commit these types of crimes, whether you get rehabilitated or not in prison, you should be locked up for life. And can I add that actually we have passed into law just that. If Pitchfork had committed his crimes today, it is highly unlikely that he would ever be released from prison.
So, Jeremy, the question is, why now has the parole board said that he can be released?
Simply because it's now convinced that Pitchfork isn't a danger to the public anymore. Now, what it had to do is to put all the emotion in this to one side and simply to consider the risk he poses now. Now, they spoke to Pitchfork personally, they spoke to his victims' families, they spoke to experts, including his prison psychologist. They say a huge amount of evidence showed the progress he'd made in jail, including courses to tackle his offending, the fact he was learning skills to help disabled people, and more generally, a lot of support he was giving to people in prison.
So what's actually being done to make sure, if he is released, that he doesn't reoffend?
If he does get released, the parole board is recommending some fairly strict licence restrictions on where he lives, on who he contacts, on what electronic devices he can use. He'd be banned from any unsupervised contact with children. He'd be banned from going to those parts of Leicestershire where these murders took place. He'd have to wear an electronic tag. He'd also be subject to lie detector tests as well. And of course, he isn't free yet. There are still 21 days to challenge his release. And that's what Alberto Costa is now challenging the government to do.
OK. Jeremy, thank you for